Good afternoon, Flo. Certainly that hour we've all been waiting for has indeed arrived. The body of Dr. Andrew Mlangeni, moments away from his house here in Dube, Soweto. As you can see, there's quite a lot of hive of activity happening here. And also we've seen quite a lot of prominent people who are members of the ANC. Thandi Modise, she's the Speaker of the National Assembly. We've seen her arrive here. We've seen Professor Hlengiwe Mkhize, and of course, having been here a few minutes away. And of course, I understand as well that they've left about 45 minutes from the mortuary in Benoni in the East Rand. Now they are moments away from, this Dube home of Utatu Andrew Mlangeni. But take us through what's really expected to happen right now is Dakota Lekwete. He's the ANC NEC member. Take us, good afternoon to you. One of those moments that one will always have them in their minds as we are waiting for the body of Utatu Andrew Mlangeni.
Look, thank you very much, and to all the viewers at home. I think as the African National Congress, we are here to pay our last respect to one of the best descendants of our revolution, Tata Mlangeni. This marks an era, the end of an era of some of the best descendants that we have ever had in our movement. And it's a start of a new generation of elders, the generation that mainly was born after 1940, that is mainly represented by our elders today, like former President Thabo Mbeki, Jacob Zuma, Kgalema Motlanthe, Manto Shabalala, Zola Skweyi, Apollo Jordan, and many others who were part of that particular generation, including Krisani, that was born after 1940. Those elders are now in charge of the movement. They are the next generation that came after Utatu Mlangeni, even in terms of the military wing of the ANC. That is the generation that came immediately after that. And as we are here today, we are here to pay our last respect to one of the giants of our revolution. And it's not only him. In this family of the Mlangenis, even the wife of Tatu Mlangeni, Mama June, she was one of the women who led the anti-pass campaign in the 50s, in 1956. Herself, together with Mama Sisulu, Winnie Mandela, they were imprisoned in 56, 57. The wife of Tatu Mlangeni. As the husband was going through a Rivonia trial this side, the mother was going through an anti-pass campaign arrest this side. So this is a family that gave their whole life to the movement, and it will be befitting for us as the current generation of leaders to pay our homage and respect to this gallant son of the revolution, because he has done it all. He has been part of the 1949 program of action. He has been part of the Defiance campaign. He is one of the pioneers who were founders of the Umkhondo Wesizwe military wing. He is one of our trained soldiers, the first amongst the first of our generations to take up arms against apartheid government. So,
okay, and one would want to know then from Utatu Mlangeni some of the things that we sort of can take from him as this generation now in South Africa.
Look, one of the best things we can emulate from Utatu Mlangeni is to be a loyal servant of the people. Tatu Mlangeni was the loyal servant of our people. You can see not even position could move him. Not even the new dispensation could move him. He lived amongst these people, and he has died with his people in Dube and Soweto. He has never moved to any upmarket northern suburb. He remained loyal to our people and of service to our people up to his last day. And I think what we need to learn as the current generations of the movement and leaders is to be loyal to our people. Let's serve them with love, dignity, and respect. Let's not do some of the things which the ANC would not be happy with us doing, be it a matter of corruption, be it matter of what, and so on and so forth.
Thank you so much for now, Mr. Lekwete. I'm going to come back to you now. I can't help but want to talk to Undate Usolima Patso. Mhlegazi, good afternoon to you, here to pay respect to Utatu Mlangeni.
Yes, we are here to pay the last respect to our commander of Umkhonto Wesizwe, a person who was selfless, a person who was brave, a person who was not coward to say things as they are. So when you receive his mortal remains today, that's the most painful day, because you now can say, indeed, he is gone. So, but he is gone with his dignity in high praises. So as MK cadres, we are saying we have lost a father, a hero, a person who educated our leaders, those whom we came after. So we have learned a lot from him, especially myself. I once met with him. On a lighter note, when I came here, one of my friends is staying just around here in Dube. He plays golf. But he once said to me, hey, I'm afraid to go and play with Andrew Mlangeni. Because that man don't take advantage of his age. So as MK and the community of Umkhonto weSizwe, we have lost a hero, and we say he must go and greet other heroes and heroines of Umkhonto weSizwe.
Certainly.
May his soul rest in peace.
Thank you so much, Baba. Let's move on, Estelo, my camera person, to Umama Geraldine Fraser Mlangeni. Good afternoon to you, Mama.
Good afternoon.
You've just arrived here.
Yes.
What's that one memory that you have of Andrew Mlangeni?
There's a number of memories. I think if I think back of the days of the camps, they were the Rivonia Trialists were the leaders that we all looked up to, and that had never changed over the decades. My recollection of him is as a parliamentarian as well, the fact that he was steadfast, he was selfless, as were the leaders that he formed a part of. I think for us it's all quite sad, much as we are celebrating his life, to say that he's passing away heralds the end of an era. But I hope that it's beginning of a new era, one that says we've got to build on the legacy that they had laid down, and we've got to ensure that there are leaders of the ilk of Tata Mlangeni, of Comrade Walter Sisulu, of Governor Mbeki, of Nelson Mandela and all. Because after all, they are the ones that ensured that they are the steel that should be tempered, and now we need to temper ourselves to reflect that steel.
Thank you so much, Mama Geraldine Fraser Mlangeni, the former cabinet minister. Let's move on, Skolo, to Solema Paila. Now he's the SACP's leader. Shegazi, good afternoon to you. A lot is to happen this afternoon. What's your main message to South Africans during this time?
The main message is that we should honor this stalwart and emulate his values, which represented the totality of the value system of our liberation movement. These were selfless leaders who conducted themselves with absolute integrity, selflessly served our people without expecting anything in return, except that our people should be free. I think in continuing our struggle for freedom, which will require our people to live freely, free of poverty, free of racism, free of gender oppression and patriarchy, we should honor them by emulating just their values.
And of course, I'm sure you've heard from the media reports that the family did come quite forthright in saying that building up to this official funeral category 1, they don't want to hear anything that would have to do with corruption in as far as, looting of state funds is concerned. I'm sure you heard about that. And what's your view?
We applaud the family for that, because they continue to represent what he stood for. He was a man that was clear in his fight against corruption. As the chairperson of the ANC Integrity Committee, particularly, he expressed himself without any fear of contradiction against anyone, irrespective of their political positions in the movement. He wanted people to conduct themselves with absolute integrity in serving the people, not to steal from the poor, not to loot from the state coffers, and that's what he stood for. That's why it closes an important chapter in the history of our liberation war as part of the golden generation of our liberation warriors. So we agree with the family fully, and we must continue the fight against corruption and make sure that constantly, and we have been assured that the SIU will be allowed to make continuous interventions during this period of COVID-19 to ensure that procurement is in line, and if there are irregularities, they are followed. But we want action. We want to see people being arrested. We want to see people going to jail, not just being called to order. Of course, order is important in the totality of things, but we want accountability and proper action so that people can know that if you do wrong, you'll actually go to jail.
Thank you so much, Solema Paila. Let's move on to Tata, Dr. Snubi Zikalala. Thank you so much for your time as the military veteran, as the military veterans league of the ANC.
Veterans League, not military veterans.
I'm so sorry about that. Veterans League of the ANC, Dr. Snubi Zikalala. Thank you so much for your time. Here we are at the Tata Mlangeni house, waiting for his body to arrive any time from now. How is the league feeling so far?
Well, as a Veterans League, we are really saddened by the untimely passing of Tata Mlangeni. He was a strong, committed, and dedicated cadre of the movement. And it's sad that he passed away at the time when the ANC needed him. As you know, that the ANC is in serious crisis in terms of credibility, integrity. During COVID now, there are serious issues of political morality of the ANC. And so we are saddened that he won't be there to challenge, especially young people, leaders of the ANC, to tell them to stop what they're doing, because it's that during the time of COVID, there are people who are stealing from state, from the poor. It's really unacceptable. And so we are really saddened by his passing away. But we as veterans, we are saying that we'll take the baton and make sure that we represent him. We won't disappoint him. We'll hold every member of the ANC and member of cabinet to account, because that's our job. We've got nothing to lose. We are not looking for patronage. We're not looking for positions. Ours is to save the ANC and to save the country. We are saying that we won't disappoint him. We'll make sure that we represent him thoroughly and make sure to bring back the integrity of the ANC.
Okay, and of course, one of the things that have been quite a controversy around building up to the funeral that will take place tomorrow was the fact that former President Jacob Zuma did participate in one of the memorial services, something that, of course, the family did come out against as strongly as possible. Your view on that?
Well, our view is that, as you know, that he was very close to Comrade Zuma, and of course, he immediately when Comrade Zuma was at the helm, the ANC was on a downward slope. We're facing what you call the demise of the ANC. There was no accountability, and the president himself was involved in what you call state capture. As you know, that the Nkandla debacle, he's the one who took up the issue of Nkandla Mlangeni. He called him and he demanded that he resign because he benefited from the Nkandla funding. And so we as veterans, the matter was discussed with the family. The family said no, they are against it. Well, we said it has happened. There's nothing we can do, because it was up to the family to decide who should speak at the memorial service of Babu Zuma. Tina, we don't feature anywhere. It's a family thing. It's a family funeral, and so the family did not object that day when the program was designed. But later on, the family saw that it was a mistake and they objected to it. And so we'll go with what the family says.
Thank you so much, Tara, for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Snubi Zikalala, he's the president of the Veterans League of the ANC. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your time, Kulua. Here, we are here today at Tata Mlangeni's home. How are you feeling?
We are here to celebrate a life well lived. And we have drank from the well of a good cadre, unifying force, great thinker like Tata Mlangeni. And he has written his own history whilst he was still alive. He has made his mark, and we are here to simply take it upon ourselves and run with the baton, knowing very well that there were great people, giants like him.
What are you taking personally from him?
Well, no doubt, from Tata Mlangeni, we need to learn humility. Learn humility, learn integrity. These things you are not born with. You got to internalize simply because there were people like this. So when you talk about the ANC as a home of all tendencies, but the movement that unite our people and lead them, you have had solid leaders like Tata Mlangeni who came before, and we are here to celebrate that life, and what a life indeed.
Well, of course, Utatu Andrew Mlangeni, having stood firm against corruption, of course we would hear him saying that he wants to restore the dignity of the ANC. I want to challenge you and say, what is it that you're going to do then as the ANC moving forward to actually see that the ANC sort of goes back to its former glory days and, of course, it lives up to its standards scattered to Mlangeni?
The ANC must walk the talk. What is a perception in society is not for us to philosophize around it. If people think and they see things that there is corruption, we don't do anything about it, and there is a perception, we need to kill it as a movement. We can't live with a perception that the ANC is ambiguous, is oblivious to corruption. If there is corruption, Mbalula is corrupt, is misusing government position that is being deployed with trust by the president and the ANC, and people are running amok all around here for everything around us. We are unable to control resources with integrity of the people. People are dying now with COVID. I'm from a funeral this morning. A staff member in my own office passed away. The people have given us their trust. They've given us their faith. And it can't be undermined by certain things that we can't respond to. We have to respond. And obviously when we respond, we've got to be responsible. We've got to be factual. We must not deal with people out of wanting to be popular and being economic with the truth. Let's deal with issues as a way they present themselves. Deal with them with integrity, decisiveness. People can have faith in our institutions, in our government, in how we conduct ourselves.
Fikile Mbalula, ANC NEC member, thank you so much for your time, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Well, there you have it, Flo. Quite a lot of activity happening here. We managed to get to speak to a lot of ANC leaders and ANC members about Tatu Andrew Mlangeni. One cannot run away from the fact that he does seem to have been quite a respected man in the ANC, committing, of course, that they will continue to preserve his legacy and live up to his standard as the ruling party in South Africa. Flo, it's back to you now in studio in Nazareth.
All right, thank you very much to Abongile Dumko, who is there. And of course, we're certainly bringing you those live visuals. You saw there the Guard of Honor as, there's the procession is sort of moving towards the home of Ndata Andrew Mlangeni. And of course, some of his colleagues and some of those people that would have worked with him, that would have been in the struggle with him, that would have fought alongside him, also sharing some of their words, some of their tributes, some of what they remember most about him. And I have to say, which I've said continuously throughout the time, that, last respects have been paid, whether it is via online means or at his home, that people have said really similar things about Ndata Andrew Mlangeni. I mean, just listening to Ndata Zigalala, who is the president of the Veterans League, there talking about the fact that he was a committed cadre who didn't stand for corruption, and that it's a sad time that Andrew Mlangeni left at a time when the ANC is in what Ndata Zigalala is calling is in a crisis, and he's mentioned the fact that the ANC is in a crisis in terms of credibility, in terms of corruption. He also mentions the fact that they will pick up at this point because they've got nothing to lose. They're not looking for patronage or any kind of positions, so they will take up the fight that he had started. Of course, a very important question there by my colleague Abongile about the issues we've seen around the funeral in terms of, we'd heard, of course, there were problems, some calling it an issue, that former President Jacob Zuma had spoken and paid tribute. And of course, we're being reminded of the fact that Andrew Mlangeni was one of the most outspoken people the time we heard about Nkandla and so forth. So just a person that was never afraid to raise issue and to call to order his own comrades, his own friends. And of course there was that closeness and that friendship that he would have had with former President Jacob Zuma, but still being able to talk to his comrades about what he didn't feel was all right. And of course we also heard from Geraldine Fraser-Muleketi, who's also at the home home of Ntate Mlangeni, and also talking about remembering him as a parliamentarian. That was also said earlier on in the week, of course, by a fellow parliamentarian during his time in Parliament. We heard about the fact that he had integrity. He was a simple man, a man who wasn't about the glamour, a man who had so much that he could have kind of claimed for himself, but continued to be simple. This is what we heard from Baleka Mbete, who said that Ntate Mlangeni was a member of Constitutional Affairs Committee. Of course, this is the committee that really helps us to have one of the best constitutions in the entire world. So no doubt his mark is memorable. His mark will not be forgotten, particularly in this country, as of course the constitution is a law that we rely on so heavily in the country till this very day. So no doubt, as we lay Ntate Mlangeni to rest tomorrow, we still remember him as this man who will always remember him as this man who contributed so significantly to South Africa, and of course the freedom. And of course in 1997 he was in the National Assembly as a member of what was then called the Senate, which is now the NCOP. And of course, he was a focused member of Parliament, is what we earlier heard this week from the former Speaker of the National Assembly, that's Baleka Mbete. We also heard from Kgalema Motlanthe. No doubt, a lot of these people will be, are at the House or sort of appearing at the House, whether it is not now or tomorrow, but we'll certainly be seeing a lot of some of these people as they do speak. We heard from former President Kgalema Motlanthe, who said that, he was a man who was very passionate, about the ANC, paying tribute to the family. We also heard, of course, former President Jacob Zuma saying the very same thing too, raising issues about, when they were in the struggle together and the kind of comrade that he was. And I seem to remember the former President Zuma saying that this was a man that he would confide in and talk to him about many things. And he says that Ntate Andrew Mlangeni, he thought he worried Ntate Andrew Mlangeni. That was something that I heard earlier in the week that the former President Jacob Zuma said. So those are the live pictures then coming from Soweto, where Abongile did mention, and of course he's been speaking to his fellow comrades and ANC members. And it's not just ANC members. I mean, the struggle veteran has brought together people that we'd ordinarily think are sort of enemies, wouldn't we? We saw EFF leader Julius Malema also at the home, in fact, earlier this week. Though we see, of course, the colours of the ANC throughout the streets and this guard of honour, we did also have some red berets in the very same street earlier this week. And of course, the leader of the EFF, Julius Malema, saying that Andrew Mlangeni never isolated us. The fact that even when they moved on, to form their political party, Andrew Mlangeni was not one who isolated anyone, really. And I think he was a man of unity, from what we have heard when he visited the home of the struggle hero and paying tribute to the last surviving Rivonia Trialist who passed away this week. And certainly a sad time, isn't it? It seems like the end of some kind of an era. We'd always sort of referred to Ntate Mlangeni as the last surviving member of the Rivonia Trialists, and I think we all sort of wanted to hold on to that, but there he is. He has gone to join his comrades where they are resting. We also heard from Fikile Mbalula, Minister of Transport, speaking to Abongile there. He also spoke this week via Skype at the memorial that was hosted here on SABC News for you, talking about the fact that he touched many lives both through his politics and through his foundation. And you can see that the foundation is all about unity. They've even came out speaking out against those who had said that it was inappropriate for the former President Jacob Zuma to be speaking, and they said they're not going to get involved in that kind of politics or issues. If the former president had words that he wanted to share, he was given the stage indeed to do so. And certainly they might have had some issues towards the end, but the fact remains that they were comrades in arms. And of course, the first recruit of Umkhonto weSizwe, that is, of course, Andrew Mlangeni, and that's one to be remembered. And I seem to remember during the week it was said that these comrades said they were willing to die for the country, willing to die for their people. And we remember Nelson Mandela saying the very, very same thing, that we are prepared to die for our country. But when Umkhonto we Sizwe was put together, now it was about, are you willing to kill for your people? And that is another story altogether. And certainly these people were willing to really live their lives in contribution of South Africans, ever united South Africans. So there we go. Goodbye, Tate Andrew Mlangeni. And there it is. There's the hearse and there's the coffin as it's sort of going through the streets. The army there, I assume, of course, that is the veterans, of course, of the army Umkhonto we Sizwe, those who would have been part of the Umkhonto we Sizwe, the military wing of the ANC, of course, marching there in great tribute and respect of the great leader of one of the great leaders indeed of this big movement that is the ANC and the liberation struggle that of course you are so very much a part of. And no doubt Soweto today is a standstill, as will be the case probably tomorrow too, as he says goodbye to the place that he served with so much love, and of course gave his life to, essentially spending many years on Robben Island along with all the greats that we remember, whether it is Nelson Mandela and all of them who fought for this freedom. Let's take you there to those visuals, and I'll just keep quiet for now as we kind of listen in to what is being said at the moment.
That's it. Left and right. Twist left, left, right. March. General salute. Salute.
Can we get the ANC members? The ANC delegation. And there's the ANC delegation.
Certainly a somber moment here at the Dube home of Dr. Andrew Mlangeni. This is, of course, the body of the late struggle icon arrives flow at his house here in Dube, Soweto. We see a lot of ANC members and family members converging just close to the coffin, wrapped in the country's flag, which symbolizes that this was indeed a stalwart. This is indeed an official funeral declared by the South African government. And of course, Dr. Mlangeni from here, the mortuary round, right all the way from Benoni on the east end, arriving here at this moment at his house. And of course, we'll just allow the procession and processes to unfold as we are watching here. Of course, Thandi Modise amongst those who are right close to the coffin, including Treasurer General of the ANC, Paul Mashatile, who also Sipule Mabe, the spokesperson, and of course the rest of the ANC leaders.
God, the Father of our
and of
Lord
course,
Jesus
the
Christ,
Reverend starts now with the
Father of
procession.
mercies, and the God of all consolation. He comforts those who are in trouble with the same consolation we have received from Him. I now bless the body of Ntate Andrew Mlangeni with the holy water that recalls his baptism, of which St. Paul writes, all of us who were baptized into Christ were baptized into his death. By baptism into his death, we were buried together with him, so that just as Christ was raised from the dead by the glory of the Father, we too live a new life. For if we have been united with him by likeness to his death, so shall we be united with him by likeness to his resurrection. On the day of his baptism, Ntate Andrew Mlangeni put on Christ. In the day of Christ's coming, may he be clothed with glory. Let us pray. Hear us, hear our prayer, and be merciful to your son, Andrew Mlangeni, whom you have called from this life. Welcome him into the company of your saints in the kingdom of light and peace. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
Well, there you have it. Reverend, just wrapped up now. That service. Of course, now the body makes its way to inside the house. That the Andrew Mlangeni now will have to spend one last night at his house before he's laid to rest tomorrow at the Roodepoort Cemetery. And of course, as you can see now, the body of that the Andrew Mlangeni makes its way to inside the house. Flo. Because now behind the coffin are some of the family members. Some also drove all the way from the Free State, which is when that Andrew Mlangeni was born 95 years ago. Children from all the way in the Free State province to pay their last respect to their loved one.
All right, so of course, Abongile there for us, and of course he's having to kind of also keep it a bit low, as of course this is that moment that in our African culture that we observe where the body comes to the home the day before. Always a very emotional time, no doubt, for the family, the friends, and the comrades. This is always really a tough time, and of course let's take that broadcast back and just give a little bit of privacy there as the body does enter the home of Dr. Andrew Mlangeni in Soweto there. And I just want to read you a very interesting note that was written by one of the high-ranking ANC officials, Omri Makwale, who said that, he was also a veteran, said that Andrew Mlangeni has departed, leaving a footprint of courage, integrity and service to the people of South Africa. The legend of Umkhonto weSizwe has departed, the first MK recruit and the first volunteer of the People's Army. We are left with footprints to follow, which of course is what we're hearing a lot of from those left behind. We saw the blessing of the body by a priest there of Dr. Mlangeni just as the body enters the home there in Soweto. We'll certainly go back to the home of Dr. Andrew Mlangeni when the time does permit for us to do so.